What is up, you guys? I am just coming on really, really quick to talk about this whole idea of hope. Listen, we have to figure out how to put our hope in God when we are chasing purpose. If our hope is not in God, purpose can't prevail. Because if our hope is on something that can fail, we run the risk of God not getting the glory, right? And so it's important. It is so important for us to have our hope in God. Um, and so when we have our hope in God, we're able to move in such a way that God is pleased. And I know that right now we are in some difficult times, and that is to say the least. And that is not to minimize all of 2020 and what 2020 has been. But we really are in some difficult times. And my question for you this evening is, what is your hope in? What are you hoping in? And if it is difficult for you to answer that question because of many reasons, right? Like everything hasn't gone right for a lot of people. In fact, lots of things have gone wrong. Like let's just face it, like hope is hard right now. Hope is hard right now. People have lost jobs. A lot of people have lost loved ones. We've lost loved ones to this world health crisis, which is COVID-19. But we have also lost loved ones in other ways, right? People have died of natural causes and all kinds of things. There's literally, it's just so much that is going on. And we have to be able to know where we can hope. And so I ask you that question today. Where do you hope? Where do you hope? Now, some of us have a great deal of hope. Over this time, some of us have a huge amount of hope. And so, where is that? How did you have hope when things didn't go the way that you thought it should go? How did you have hope? I mean, let me know in the chat. Like, what did you do to keep your hope? When I was going through not at the beginning of COVID, my entire school closed. The school that I worked for, I worked for a satellite campus for a university, and the whole university closed due to for reasons around COVID. So they said, and when they closed, everybody who worked at our satellite lost their job. What did that look like for us? Do you see? Like we had to have our hope in something in order to move on. And here's the thing. Let me tell you this. As a business owner, I've had a business since probably 2000. I've had a business since 2000 and been in business real good since 2010 in different ways, in different capacities. And as a business owner, one thing that I know is that you can't have your hope in just one thing. You cannot have your hope in just one stream of income. Like that is not realistic in today's time, period. And so even if you have a good job, because here's the thing, if that job ends, then what happens? Because here's like employers don't care about their employees to that degree. Let me be the first to tell you, if you think your job cares about you, your job, and you work in corporate America, sir or ma'am, let something happen, and they're going to fill the job tomorrow because they need that job to be filled in order for their purpose to continue, right? And so some of us hope in jobs, and I've been there. There was a time in my life when I had my hope in a job, and it's okay. Like, I'm not telling anybody to not be employed. Please hear me when I say I'm not telling anybody to be employed, but that was where my hope was, because I knew that every 2 weeks I was going to get a check. And then what happens when the check stops? What happens when it stops? You have to be able to do something else, and you have to be able to do it quickly. I've heard so many people talk about this notion of pivoting, but in order to pivot, in order to move, you have got to have hope. Hey, Shantae. Hey, Augie. How are you? Listen, you got to have hope. You have got to have hope in order to pivot. In order to get to the next, you got to have hope. And so my question becomes, What is it that you are hoping in? What is it? What is it that you're hoping in? So let me be the first to tell you that God has something for you in this season. God has something for you in this season. And whatever that thing is, it may or may not be attached to a traditional job. It may or may not be attached to a business. But I assure you that no matter what, God is bigger than whatever the situation is. And let me tell you that in times like these, loss is loss. So just like you lose a job, yeah, that's a loss, and that loss has to be grieved. Just like you lose a loved one, that loss has to be grieved. Just like your life is affected adversely, you have to grieve that, because loss is loss. And in order for us to move forward, we have got to put our hope in something. I hear you, Augie, hoping that things will come to pass, and they will. And they will. Just like God brought the Israelites out of Egypt, he is going to bring his people out of this. Now, just like he brought the Israelites out of Egypt, some folks died along the way. Like, that is true. But when they kept their hope in God, the Israelites were able to see the promised land. We got a promised land that we're going to. Like, we're on our way there. We are there. Like, that promised land is upon us, if you will. Do you see? And so, but in order to get in, you got to have hope, because you can't see that you can beat the adversary if you don't have hope. When Joshua and Caleb said, hey, we can beat these people, it was because they had hope, and they had hope in God, not even in their own strength. So we cannot have hope in our own strength. And listen, I'm done. My only thing is to give us just a little bit of hope in he who created us, and he who told us who he is and what it is that he wants us to do. So as you're chasing purpose, I've been talking about chasing purpose for the last however long. As you chase purpose, put your hope in something that can sustain you. And that thing, that entity, that source that can sustain us is God, and God alone. He is the only one that can sustain us, especially in times like these. And we are in unprecedented times when things seem crazy. I mean, we're seeing things that we've never seen before in this way. From how the election has gone, to a whole world health crisis, to a collective trauma. Like, this is real life right now. And if you don't have your hope anchored in something bigger than you, if you don't have your hope in something, rest assured to know that you are going to have a difficult time chasing purpose. So I encourage you to find your hope anchored in God. And so one thing that I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to just invite you all to, is to have hope. So whether you have hope or you need hope, there is a thing that is happening, and I'm looking to see if I can pull it up real quick. This is happening tomorrow at 8 p.m. Whether you have hope or you need hope, you can go to daughterstatus.com and register for this free event. And that's all we're going to be talking about tomorrow at 8 p.m. We are all, me and two of my colleagues who have had some experiences, are going to be talking about this notion of hope. And we call it Not Your Average Grief Symposium, because yes, we have to grieve these things, but we have to grieve these things through hope, with hope, if you will. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you don't have hope, you can't grieve well. So this is a time that we need hope. This time of year, in this season, what's going on in the world, we need hope. And so whether you have hope and you have something to share, you should be there. If you don't have any hope, then you should be there. So it's two kinds of people in this world. I've said that before. It's two kinds of people in this world: those who have hope and those who need hope. And we want to share hope with you. And we want you to come and share your hope experience and your hope story. So tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can go ahead and register at daughterstatus.com. It's a free event. It's not going to cost you anything. It is not going to cost you a thing. So if you have hope or you need hope, come and join us so as we talk about this idea of having and needing hope, and we're chasing purpose and all of that, we want to make sure that those around us can grieve well. And how do you grieve well? With hope. That's how you grieve well. And like I said, whether loss is loss, a job, a dog, a family member, a loved one, money, whatever the case is loss, and that needs to be grieved. And right now, like I said, we're going through a collective trauma. So we need some hope. And so we have gotten together and we have decided to offer that. Again, two of my colleagues and I are offering this notion of hope tomorrow at 8 p.m. We hope to see you there. Please join us. It is like I said, it's a free Zoom experience. Go to daughterstatus.com to register, and we'll see you there. And you can, if you need to get in touch with me, all things www.drjoypcreel.com. Listen, I am available to help you walk through some things, whether it is coaching, whether it is therapy, whether it is just giving you some hope or an encouraging word. See how you can connect with me and how I can journey with you. You all have a wonderful night. Know that I love you, but God loves you best. Have an amazing, amazing night, my friends.